I'm running out of ways to tell you guys how I feel about Raw, so I'm going to go with a ridiculous one. Those of you that are old enough to remember Sega Genesis will remember the Sonic the Hedgehog games, right? I know, all the younger viewers are going to their dads or their older brothers right now saying, what's a Sega Genesis, what's a Sonic, what's a fucking Hedgehog? Ironically, Sonic the Hedgehog is blue, but that's another story for another day. In the water worlds of Sonic the Hedgehog, you had to make sure you did not run out of oxygen. You could go to the surface where there was all kinds of oxygen, but when you were buried, when you were drowning, when you were so deep in the water, the game was nice enough to give you the little bubbles that came up from the bottom, and if you could swim to a bubble, you got a little gasp of air. You could last a little bit longer before you fucking died. Now, that's a lot like Monday Night Raw, because we're not drowning in water necessarily. That would be an easy way out. We are drowning in the bullshit that is Monday Night Raw, and the little bubble that is the Cruiserweight division, while it is amazing and I'd love to be more excited about it, does not help us breathe. No, no, no. Let's talk about Raw. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal, Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and I lost my momentum even in the opening shtick there, because I find myself in a genuine state of pain trying to get myself ramped up to talk to you guys about Monday Night Raw. Of course, I got to do the house cleaning first. I did say to you guys that I will be starting the NXT reviews as usual this week. Unfortunately, as unreliable as you guys know me to be, that will not be the case. I will be talking to you guys on Wednesday with my typical guests, but it will not be about NXT. Yeah, 11 o'clock my time on Wednesday. Please tune into this channel for the live preview and predictions for the cock. And yes, I know, a lot of people said to me in the comment section that they did not like me referring to the Clash of Champions as the cock. But with how much Raw sucks legitimate dick, and the fact that the name of the pay-per-view is Clash of Champions, which is COC, the joke is too good to not make because the joke is so true. So unless something magical happens to change my mind between now and Sunday, Raw presents the cock. Oh yes. We will be doing the preview and predictions for the cock, myself, Kristen, and Guapo, Wednesday night, 11 o'clock my time. I suck at time zones, guys. I live in the greater Toronto area, so backtrack your time zone from that. I know you guys love to come out in droves for the live thing. You know, Angry Mark, I'm looking at you, buddy. It is a lot of fun. I'm not excited about this show, as you guys can plainly see from the past couple of weeks of Raw reviews. But I do like getting together with my buddies Guapo and Kristen and talking about what's going on in wrestling in general, and it's going to be a good time. So please feel free to not only come and check out that live broadcast on Wednesday, 11 o'clock my time, and have your say if you wish. I have warned Kristen and Guapo via the Twitter and via the Facebook that they will have to keep me from that preview being an entire rant on the Raw brand in general. And I can say I'm going to rant on the red brand when the only thing good on the red brand is purple. But that's another story for another day. Anyways, going into your September 19th, go home Raw for the cock. On the pre-show, they reminded us that the Cruiserweights are debuting on Raw tonight. They did a video package on it. They did a video package on TJ Perkins winning the belt. Some of the other guys that we're going to see tonight, Roddy Rod. We've had TJ Perkins on the Skype. You guys know how I feel about the Skype thing on the pre-show. It's a cool thing that they're trying to do. It's, you know, it's modern days. It's not, you know, calling in like an old call-in show. I get that what they're trying to do here. But the time delay of the Skype, they haven't figured it out yet, or Skype just fucking sucks as a whole. It doesn't work. It was cool for TJ Perkins to interact with the pre-show panel, considering your newly crowned Cruiserweight champion wasn't on Raw tonight for the debut of the division. Oh yes. We've got announced that we're going to get Sasha and Bayley versus Charlotte and Dana. We're going to get match 6 in the never-ending snail trail that is Sheamus versus Cesaro. And there's going to be a mystery highlight reel. Here's a little spoiler. The highlight reel never happens. Oh yeah, we saw Jericho. Don't get me wrong, but there was no highlight reel tonight. It's Raw. What kind of highlights do you expect? Oh yes, we start off the show, and you know, the one thing this Raw has been sold on is the debut of the Cruiserweight division. You figure they would use that to start the show. Cruiserweights historically have been the first match on a card to get the crowd going, get the audience excited and invested in the show. Absolutely not. We only went the completely opposite direction and started the show with Roman fucking Reigns. Oh yes. Comes down, grabs a microphone, doesn't get to say anything though, thanks to Stephanie McMahon. Thank you, Stephanie. He says, I've got a show to run, I don't need any distractions from you, we've got some decisions to blah, 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 blah. Stephanie. She gets cut off by Foley, who gives us basically the rundown for the night. He apologizes to the crowd and to Stephanie for letting the show get away from him last week. And we get a couple of things. We get Rollins versus Rusev tonight. We get Roman versus Rusev confirmed for this Sunday for the US title at the Cock. And he goes off on a tangent that doesn't really go anywhere about he doesn't understand why fans boo Roman Reigns, but we all need to get together as a Raw family and to, you know, to take on SmackDown, which if you saw Backlash, that's just not gonna happen, is it? He goes on about, you know, I'm personally invested in this because everybody on Raw could find other jobs if Raw didn't exist anymore, because that's gonna happen, but I'll be at home on the couch. Which is bullshit, because he's contracted and because he has another show on the WWE Network. Insulting as a whole. And then he announces that we're going to have a rematch from last week of Owens versus Roman tonight. In a steel cage, they're cut off by Owens, who tries to protest a little bit, but doesn't really get anywhere. Stephanie McMahon backs up her partner in crime, Mick Foley, but assures Kevin Owens that this will not be a Universal title match, which we didn't presume that it would be, because the match last week that this is a rematch of was not a title match. Now, let's get into the meat of this. 3 matches. Rollins versus Rusev tonight. Roman versus Rusev at the Cock. And Owens versus Roman Reigns tonight. Rollins versus Rusev tonight is happening as a punishment for their involvement in the main event last week. You guys got involved in a match that you weren't supposed to be involved in last week, and I promised dire punishment. Your dire punishment is you have a match tonight on Raw. For reasons. Roman is granted a US title shot at the Cock, and he hasn't done anything to deserve it, other than get attacked by Rusev and continuously fail to put himself back in the Universal title picture. What has Roman Reigns done to earn himself a title match? He beat the ever-loving shit out of Rusev at SummerSlam, but apparently that gets him a title shot. I don't get it at all. And here's the thing. Here's where I'm going to flip the script a little bit. Let's go storyline for a second. Let's go with the storyline that Mick Foley is the general manager. He's the legit general manager. He's in a legit competition with SmackDown. SmackDown just put on a great show a couple weeks ago. We need to do better than SmackDown's pay-per-view did a couple of weeks ago. So let's endanger our champion, the guy that's going to be in the main event this Sunday, in a cage match on Raw for reasons. Not only that, think about marquee value for a moment. You've got your champion in a cage match tonight on Raw in a non-title match. And at the Cock, he's going to be fighting for his championship in a regular match. Yeah. Okay. That being said, that's nothing to do with the quality of the matches. That's just the logic that went into all those matches. Rollins versus Rusev was up next, and it was a good match. We see Rusev, they take so long to come back from commercial break that Mick Foley gets to the back, and Rusev, before he goes out for his match, yells at Foley, Foley's a bad person, how dare you give me a match? Yeah, because that's not what wrestlers want. Wrestlers don't want matches, do they? He said, you did this on purpose, you wanted to spoil my wife Lana's special night because it's the DVD release of her movie with Edge. Now, I gotta go to Twitter on this one. You guys that follow me on Twitter, you know how much I don't give a shit about the show when I'm posting random other shit on Twitter. Count up all the random Twitter shit that I repost during Raw. That's how much I don't care about Raw. But there was a comment, I don't remember who posted it, I think it was from Slice End, that said, Rusev, you better be careful letting your wife star in a movie with Edge. We know how he likes to steal other people's girlfriends. Which makes me smile, because just above that, there was a tweet about Matt Hardy. But anyways, as we go into the first match, Rollins versus Rusev. Collar and elbow tie-up, quick strikes by Rollins, corner kitchen sink and heavy blows by Rusev. Sliced bread number 2 by Rollins, who tosses Rusev out. Rusev slams Rollins spine first into the post, front slam and a falling elbow and a hard Irish whip, all working the back. All good. Rollins sells it great. Now, you got a guy who's infamous right now for supposedly injuring people with his buckle bomb, which, you know, probably would affect the back a lot. So it kind of does. I don't believe in that. I don't follow the Bret Hart mentality on Seth Rollins. But that's the shit that he's getting right now. I find it kind of funny with all that going on that somebody in a match would be working on his back. But that's another story for another day. Body blows by Rollins, chops, boots, and a forearm. Rusev tosses Rollins off the top rope out of the ring as we go to commercial break. We come back, Rusev rides a waistlock and hits an avalanche against the ropes, which is really... He's the bigger guy. He should hit stuff like an avalanche. This is the kind of guy that can do that. Don't use the steamroller effect with somebody like Nia Jax. Oh, we're going to get to that later, aren't we? Enziguri by Rollins and a mic check into the second turnbuckle. Sling blade by Rollins. Again, because of the Balor thing, Rollins using the sling blade just makes me laugh. Corner forearms and a super kick. Falcon arrow by Rollins on Rusev, which is pretty damn impressive. Let's be real. Look at the size of Rusev. High knee and a round kick by Rusev. Hangman by Rollins. Top rope knee strike. Suicide dive by Rollins twice, and they brawl up the ramp to a count out. Yeah, this big, vicious, vindictive punishment of a match ended in a count out. Oh yes, Rollins does a crossbody off the desk that's off the stage at the top of the ramp. Now, that would be cool if the ramp wasn't about this high off the ground. But be that as it may. I will say, on the upside, Rollins' slow face turn leading to the more face offense. I'm waiting for the Phoenix Splash to come back. Yes, pun intended. Charlotte costs Mick Foley in the back because Mick Foley doesn't have enough to deal with already. Points out what we all said from last week, that Sasha and Bayley's shoulders were both down in the number 1 contenders match last week, so neither one of them won. Now, logic would dictate if she goes in there and says that neither one of them won, then she would have to fight her own protege at Clash of Champions. But WWE's not quite that smart, and that's not a match we really want to see anyways. So for her trouble, and for troubling Mick Foley, she gets a triple threat match now at the Cock. Oh yes, we get a video package for Cedric Alexander and Brian Kendrick of the CWC, which is cool. And we see the debut of the purple Raw Cruiserweight logo, which struck me as odd at first. Later on, changed my tone a little bit. Jericho's in the back talking to Owens about how he's got a whole list about bad things about Foley. And everybody goes back to that famous segment in WCW when he had the list of 1,004 holds. Number 3, arm bar, and all that sort of thing. Immediately, instantly. Strowman squashed Sin Cara again because we care. And I mean, I will say, and I'm not going to jump ahead of myself, Cruiserweight division debuted later on in the show. The fact that one of the Cruiserweights that debuted tonight is a luchador, sure, squash a luchador in the first hour. Brilliant. Sasha and Bayley have a friendly but catty conversation in the back about how both of them think they're going to win on Sunday at the Cock. And, of course, their tag team match is up next. Because, nothing like WWE cutting and pasting a little bit of, oh my god, can they get along as a team, when we've seen them get along as a team 100 times. Now, Sasha and Bayley versus Charlotte and Dana. I mean, you got 3 awesome wrestlers and Dana. You got 3 wrestlers that have a match on Sunday and Dana. So, who's going to eat the pin? It's going to be Dana, right? Logic dictates that so that everybody else looks strong in the match going into Sunday, you have either Sasha or Bayley pin Dana so that one of them looks extra strong, so that both challengers as a team look strong, and so that your champion didn't eat a pin. Right? Right. That would make sense, right? Let's see what WWE thinks of that. Sasha and Dana start, collar and elbow tie-up, headlock by Sasha, shoulder tackle. Bayley works the arm, double mudhole stomp by the heels. Charlotte eats a turnbuckle, and the heels do a lot of the heels butt heads. My writing sucks, as you guys know. Bayley tosses out Dana as we go to commercial break. I think that's just becoming the unofficial sign of WWE production. So-and-so tosses out so-and-so. That's the cue to go to commercial break. Hair takedown by Charlotte as we come back. The heels hit the double mudhole stomp again. Snapmare by Charlotte and a surfboard and an arm drag by Bayley. Forearm by Charlotte and a chop knockdown. I don't care how legitimate the Flair chops are. A single knife edge chop should not knock you down, but that's just my opinion. It's like the Daniel Bryan silly kicks. Oh! Speaking of the Daniel Bryan silly kicks, I got a question about the Daniel Bryan silly kicks in my Q&A. You guys have exactly 5 more days to get your questions in for the September edition of Ask the Phoenix. Yes, see, this is how easy it is to distract me. Take me off course talking about Raw. Please put your questions in the box below of the August Q&A if you want to be a part of the September Q&A over at Ask the Phoenix. Chops by Sasha and an arm drag, kitchen sink by Charlotte, handstand elbow drop by Dana, which is kind of cool, where she does the whole handstand bit and then falls into an elbow drop and a takedown by Charlotte. Charlotte bends Sasha around the post like she's a fucking twist tie. And yes, I know we're supposed to do the continuous story that Charlotte fucked up Sasha's bank at SummerSlam, and she's tiny, and she's bendy. I could think of a whole lot of better and a lot more enjoyable things to do with Sasha Banks than have a wrestling match, but again, another story for another time. Got her wrapped around the post like a twist tie, as I said. Chops by Charlotte in a surfboard stretch. Forearm smash by Sasha. Rolling clotheslines by Bayley. Corner spears by Bayley and a second rope back elbow. Boot by Charlotte to Bayley. Gets the win. Yes, your champion looks strong. No, Dana didn't have to eat a pin, which wouldn't have mattered because she's not in the fucking match on Sunday at the Cock. This makes no sense. The one we were most excited to see come to Raw after the draft is Bayley. She is going in against Charlotte, the girl that just pinned her, and another person. So why would you not want to make everybody look strong going into your pay-per-view, especially a pay-per-view like the Cock, which is the Clash of the Champions, which is all about aspiring to be a champion? Why couldn't you have the one person not needing a build for Sunday at the Cock have eaten the pin tonight? Doesn't make any sense. Seth and Stephanie bicker backstage, and the only thing really relevant is Stephanie telling Seth Rollins that Kevin Owens replaced you as the man. Bo Dallas has a squash match against a jobber, and Bo Dallas is so relevant that he inspires a "Let's Go Jobber" chant. Oh yes. We get the same highlight package that we got during the pre-show of the entire Cruiserweight Classic, of TJ Perkins' win. It's all good, it's all wonderful. Cesaro versus Sheamus are nice enough to give me a 2-segment shit break as they have match 6. Now, WWE, I know you don't think we're very bright, but we've seen the best of series before. We know how they go. One guy's got 3, one guy's got 2. There's a pay-per-view match on Sunday. Wouldn't it be an awesome coincidence if they went into the pay-per-view on Sunday tied up at 3 apiece? Jesus Christ. Cesaro wins. He ties it up. Foley in the back, talking to somebody on his cell phone, is how they announce that the obvious match 7 is happening at the Cock, which isn't for a championship. So, #Raw logic. Jericho comes out, and I thought this might be one of the saving graces, one of the big of the night, but it's not, because Jericho comes out to talk about the list of Jericho, which is great. Adds somebody with braces in the first row to the list just because he's being annoying, which is great. Cut off by Enzo and Cass, who in New Day style just come out, make fun of his clothes, and make fun of his friendship with Kevin Owens. The Shining Stars come out, and let's be real, nobody gives a shit what they have to say whatsoever. New Day come out, and I cannot make this shit up. The New Day come out, and the first thing out of their mouths is, "We're out here because we have nothing better to do." Which is about as good as them last week telling you shouldn't watch Raw. And then Xavier Woods takes an opportunity to plug his YouTube channel and look somewhat relevant by talking about an iPhone 7. Which is great. And the club comes out, generic as fuck, "We're going to win the tag team championships at the Cock." Jericho tries to get himself back in the conversation, gets jumped by Zayn, and this gets made into a bullshit 10-man tag match that I'm not going to talk about. Oh yes. What I am going to talk about is Foley coming out, talking about the Cruiserweight Classic, talking about how great it was, talking about, you know, not the size of the fight and the dog and all that old Rey Mysterio bullshit, but it is good. He introduces the inaugural Cruiserweight division match on Raw, and most people might find this cheesy. I like it. What they did with the thing, instead of having the Raw logos everywhere, they had the Raw Cruiserweight logo, which is, it's a different color, the screens are all in a different dynamic, they make the arena look different, they make you feel like this is, you're watching something different for the next couple of minutes. It's like when they used to, there was a time when NXT first started doing the takeovers, and they would have this or that NXT match on Raw, just something quick to put some shine on the NXT before, you know, the pay-per-view on that particular Saturday or whatever. And they would change everything, like all the LED boards and the entrances and all that sort of shit would be yellow to match the NXT. Gave it a bit of a different vibe, made you think that it was different. That's what they did here with the purple, which was the precursor that we saw before with the purple Raw logo, which I thought was silly. And then when I saw it in play, I thought it was kind of good. He introduces the first match, which is a fatal four-way match between Rich Swann, Grand Metalik, Cedric Alexander, and Brian Kendrick. Fatal four-way #1 contender match for TJ Perkins this Sunday at the Cock. TJ Perkins should have been out here. We know he was there because we saw him interviewed on the Skype gimmick on the pre-show, but we don't get to see the brand new minted Cruiserweight champion on Raw for reasons. But these guys, and I'm sorry guys, this is how it's going to go. I'm not going to take detailed notes on the Cruiserweight matches on Raw, because as it's looking right now, the Cruiserweight Championship, or the Cruiserweight division, the Cruiserweight wrestlers in general, are going to be the one light at the end of the tunnel when I'm watching Raw. So when that happens, this clipboard is going down somewhere, and I'm going to take a breather for 5 minutes. I'm going to get that that I talked about at the beginning of the show, and I'm just going to watch the match. I will tell you it was a great match. Showed you how entertaining Rich Swann and Cedric Alexander are. I wouldn't, and yeah, people are going to go ahead and tell me I'm racist. I don't really give a shit. I wouldn't be surprised if these two ended up being a tag team somewhere along the way. Grand Metalik did his own thing. I really wish, because they were introducing Grand Metalik tonight, that they hadn't squashed Sin Cara. I know they're two different characters, but you want to legitimize, you know, they were talking during the match about the lucha background and all that sort of thing. Well, we just saw a luchador get squashed at the beginning of the show. That was not a good planning point by WWE whatsoever. Some people might not think that it was a big thing, but it really, really stuck out. Or I wish they had saved Grand Metalik till next week and put somebody else in the match, seeing as he didn't win anyway. Brian Kendrick gets the win with that roll-through choke that he was using on the CWC, that they were calling the bully choke, but, I mean, with WWE and their Be a Star campaign, I guess you can't use something with the word bully in it. Fair enough. Apparently it's called the Captain's Hook. And apparently they're really going with what he was called in the Cruiserweight Classic, where a couple of people were referring to him as the Wizard of Odd, which is fine. He cuts crazy promos. He's a crazy guy, whatever. He's better at crazy in 1 week than Dean Ambrose is over on SmackDown. There you go. I pointed out a flaw in SmackDown for those of you that say I'm biased. But it was a heck of a match. It was really, because the WWE Universe is kind of familiar with Brian Kendrick, he's sort of laid back and let the other three show how athletic and entertaining they are. There were some good spots. Obviously, Kendrick being the veteran and getting his spots in when he should. I think he got the bully choke on Cedric Alexander, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Like I say, if I'm wrong, don't tell me down in the box below. But yeah, it was cool. The match went 2 segments, so for those of you that think, oh yeah, the Cruiserweights got treated great in the CWC and they're going to get 2 minutes on Raw, if this is any indication, they've put some time and production into making the Cruiserweight matches feel different. I think they'll pay that off by giving them some time as well. I could be wrong. They could prove me wrong next week. They could prove me wrong this Sunday at the Cock. But for now, it looks somewhat promising. Like I say, it looks like the light at the end of the very, very dark ass-like tunnel that is Monday Night Raw. Oh yes. So Brian Kendrick will take on TJ Perkins this Sunday at the Cock, which I am actually legitimately happy about. What I'm not legitimately happy about, and what I'm not looking forward to whatsoever, is the following. They tried to make an actual emotional story out of this. Nia Jax squashed a jobber 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we find out that jobber was a friend of Alicia Fox's, and she beat the shit out of Alicia Fox and speared her through a guardrail. So they're going to have a match on Sunday at the Cock. Now here's the deal. Here is the deal. Alicia Fox, not the best wrestler, by far. But I do think she's underrated, and I do think she could have a better and more prominent spot in the division if they gave her a chance. So here's a really good, decent wrestler that they've put no effort in, and no effort into making me give a shit. And on the other side of the coin, you got Nia Jax, who WWE are overstepping their bounds trying to convince me I should give a shit about, who sucks. Oh yes. Oh yes. Thank God it's on the kickoff. I can go take another long shit. Moving on, and your main event is Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens in a steel cage. Now, this is okay. We saw a match a little while ago where it was like Roman Reigns versus the entire Raw roster or some bullshit, but it ended up being everybody around. I don't remember how long ago this was. You guys know how I am with dates. But I think it was supposed to be like the entire Raw roster versus Roman Reigns, and it ended up being the entire Raw roster on the outside of the ring, and Roman versus Kevin Owens in a match. Excuse me. To end the show that night. That night, I remember saying, if we ever see Roman versus Kevin Owens one-on-one for the championship, it could be alright. Yeah, no. Kevin Owens jets for the door a lot in the cage match because they start playing up the whole, you know, he's going to run for the door right away, he's a coward, rah-rah-rah-rah. So he jets for the door a bunch of times to start off the match. Both men trade punches. Lots of punches in this match. Oh, yes. Boots by Owens, clothesline by Roman, corner clothesline, and Roman eats cage as we go to commercial break. See, there we go. Once again, as I said before, you know, throwing somebody out of the ring is your cue to go to commercial break. Same thing here, except there was a cage in the way. Oh, yes. Both men trade punches, both men trade blows, hanging from the side of the cage. That whole, like, I'm hanging over here, but I can still swat at you. I can still swat at you. There's spots in a cage match that we all know we're going to see, and that we all know they look retarded. Owens rakes the eyes, and Roman crotches Owens on the top rope for his trouble. Splash into the cage by Roman 3 times. Oh, yes. Clothesline by Rowan, Samoan drop, and 10 corner clotheslines. German suplex by Owens and a cannonball, and they trade some more punches. Super kick by Owens, Superman punch by Roman. Pop-up powerbomb by Owens. They trade headbutts as they're standing on the top rope, but Roman Reigns, because he's fucking God, apparently, Superman punches him off the top rope. Now, they fall. Tell me, if there is any more clearer definition or clearer example of hashtag raw logic. You've got your champion, the hood ornament of your brand on one side, and you've got the contender for your secondary championship. Now, tell me how the contender for the minor title, which puts them about 4 spots down in the pecking order, can climb from the center where they both are, can climb up and over the cage because he's well fucking hard, quicker than your world champion on Raw can scoot out the door. Fuck that noise. But not only that, not only does that not make sense physically, it also doesn't make sense because going into the cock on Sunday, you've got your top champion, as I say, your hood ornament that's just lost a main event match on television to your secondary #1 contender. Good fucking job, WWE. After the match, Rusev attacks Roman on the outside. Owens kicks the door into Roman's face, which is a spot that I will admit made me chuckle. And he desperately, Owens desperately getting Rusev, on his side so that they can double team Roman Reigns, and he just screams out of the cage, Rusev, matchka something! Which makes him look like a fucking goof. They get a chain, and they chain the door as the referees try to stop them. Now, here's another bit of WWE logic that makes no sense. As an official, why would you bother arguing with a wrestler that's going to chain the cage door shut when I'm sure one of you has a form of communication to the techs in the back that can lift the fucking cage? Oh yes, they double team Roman. Rollins comes in to make the save. They laugh, pointing at the door. And Rollins, because he's doing babyface shit now, scales the cage and hits a top of the cage crossbody on both the heels, making the save for Roman so that we can start speculating about that Shield reunion that everybody thinks we're going to get at Survivor Series, solidifying Rollins' heel, or face turn rather, and it's all good. It's all good because... it's so shit because you've just had your secondary, as I said, you've just had your secondary contender beat your main champion, and then you have your main contender take out both of your single champions of your brand with one maneuver. And that's enough to take everybody out. Nobody, maybe Rollins, but as far as I'm concerned, nobody looks good here. You just buried both your champions. You just buried both your championships. I am looking forward okay, the tag team titles are a joke. Let's be real for a second. There's an actual comedy team versus a team that should be serious that's doing even worse comedy. I can honestly say, going into the cock on Sunday, the only matches that I have even this much investment in is the Triple Threat Women's match and the brand newly minted Cruiserweight Championship. And that was a match that was just arranged on the fly tonight. That's not good. Going into Sunday, here's your card, and here's the thing. Here's the thing, and here is the fucking thing. On this card, there are good matches. I would almost rather look at a card where I think all the matches are going to be shit. But what pisses me off about Raw more than anything else, and I think you guys know this about me by now, there are some matches on this card that I think have a lot of promise as physical in-ring matches. The problem is I don't care about any of them. I care about the Cruiserweight title match because all the build for that, let's be real, was done on the CWC, which Raw cannot take credit for. But you've got Nia Jax versus Alicia Fox, you've got TJ Perkins versus Brian Kendrick in the first ever Cruiserweight Championship match. You got Cesaro versus Sheamus, match number 7, so that I can take a good long shit. You got Charlotte versus Sasha versus Bayley, because the women's title picture basically went, it's going to be Sasha, no, it's going to be Bayley, no, it's going to be Sasha, no, it's going to be Bayley, no, it's going to be Sasha, no, it's going to be no, it's going to be both, fuck it. Got Jericho versus Zayn for reasons. Got the Club versus New Day, which, if the match at SummerSlam is any indication, you know where that's going to go. Roman versus Rusev, which isn't really deserving. And Rollins versus Owens, which I should be excited about. But guys, I gotta be honest with you, I'm just not. I'm just not. The scary thing is, you know, there's not that much time between now and Survivor Series. And Survivor Series is going to be in Canada, which you guys know I'm very excited about. We've got a lot of Canadian talent in the WWE right now. We got Bobby Roode, we got Ty Dillinger, we've got Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Chris Jericho, you know, etc., etc., etc. I can go on and on and on. WWE does not have a very good track record of treating Canadians very well in Canada at the Survivor Series. Now, could they swerve us? Could they give us a little precursor? Could they fuck over Kevin Owens with some random, we're gonna fuck you over because you're Canadian bullshit on Sunday? I always say on Twitter when I'm watching Raw, I'm gonna come up here and my review is gonna be such a rant and roddy rah. I was really excited about the Cruiserweights debuting tonight, and it was really good. Unfortunately, I had to swim a long way to get that little bubble of oxygen, and it saved me a little bit, and I drowned anyway. I drowned in the bullshit, the bright crimson red bullshit. Oh yes, Clash of Champions, the cock, is this Sunday. Preview is going to be live 11 o'clock this Wednesday with myself, Guapo, and Kristen. If you guys want to come and have your piece said, come on out and join us in the chat. I think it'll be a lot of fun. It's always a lot of fun when I've got some stuff to rant about, isn't it? Anyways, SmackDown is tomorrow, and I'm already looking more forward to No Mercy, and we've only got 2 matches set for that card. That's the other thing. I know I sounded like I was going to go into my ending bit there. There's 3 more matches on this pay-per-view than there was on Backlash, and I still think Backlash is going to win. That's really, really, really sad. Anyways, I'm sure somebody disagrees with me. Put it down in the box below. This is the only Team Red that I'm going to be cheering for. Anyways, I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I'm tagging out. Bye, guys. Raw still sucks. Sunday's the cock.